Now for this module, as many times before, you find a starting project attached, which you can download, extract, run npm install, and thereafter you can run npm run serve. Though before you run npm run serve, let's already install Vuex. And you can do this with npm install --save Vuex. This now installs the Vuex package into the project, just like we installed the router earlier in this course. And now we can get started using Vuex. And for that, I got a very simple application here. Definitely not an application where we would need Vuex, but a great application to understand the core concepts Vuex introduces. So let's start the development server with npm run serve, and let's see what we got on the screen. We got this simple container here where I just say Vuex. Now, to get started with Vuex, let's say here, inside of this base container, in the app view template here, I want to have a button where I say add one. And above the button, I actually want to have a counter, let's say a h3 tag, where I output the current value starting at 0 and then incremented by 1 every time the button is pressed. Now we could, of course, implement this behavior just with data and methods and what you learned. And for a simple app like this, we normally would do that. But this module is about Vuex and understanding Vuex, so let's not do it with these tools. Instead, let's manage this counter state with Vuex as if it would be some global state which we need in other parts of the app as well. And for that, we start in main.js, and we start by creating a Vuex store, which stores our application state. And there is one store per app. So we create the store by importing from Vuex, and what we import is the create store function. And you might see a pattern here: create app for the main Vue app, create router for the router, create store for the store. Then we can store the store in a constant named store, and these are a lot of stores, I guess, or storages. And we can do so by calling create store. Now, create store takes an object where we configure the store. And the most important thing with which we start in our store is the state. State is a method, and it then should return your state object. So it's a bit like data in a component. Now this is the state of your application. So this object will hold the application-wide data. And you only have one store for the entire application. You might have multiple states though, but I'll come back to that later. Now to get started with our counter here, we could have a counter here in our state object and initialize it to a value of 0. Now we need to connect our app to this store, which we do by calling app use and passing the store to it, just as we used the router in the routing module. And now we can use that state in our component, in any component of this entire app. We don't need to add inject here or anything like that. We can just use this state. And how do we do that? Well, there now is a new property which we can access in every component. And that's the $store property, which points at the Vuex store. This then has a state property, which points at the state managed by the store. And that state, of course, is this state object. Therefore, we now have a counter property in there to access our counter. And if I do that and save this, we see 0 here. Now, clicking the button, of course, doesn't do anything yet because we haven't wired this up. Let's do this next.